It's interesting. We talking about James Baldwin. I know this is an awkward place. I mean, we started talking, y'all, and we were just getting caught up, and then I stumbled across something that I'm gonna end up talking about later, and I was like, we should be recording, but then we kind of dropped y'all in the middle of this statement. It be like that sometimes, man. It be
It
like
does.
that, a simple question of how you doing just gets the show started, like. But speaking of James Baldwin, and just to catch y'all up, man, y'all know I stay medicated, man. That's all I say. Like James Baldwin said, to be a black man and semi-conscious in America is to be in a constant state of rage. And that was the segue to get y'all caught up. And it's like, speaking of James Baldwin, man, I don't know if you watched Daily Show with Trevor Noah.
I watch it.
Okay. I don't know if you've seen the recent one, the one from last night. I watched them in the morning, man. The one
Nah,
from the
I
from the
sure didn't,
15th,
man. I missed it.
from Tuesday the 15th. The one with Barack Obama. He interviewed Barack Obama. Um,
Hmm.
and of course, it was around his book Promised Land, and they went into a couple of different things and so on and so forth. And and I think because I know for me, right? People hear me criticize Obama, and they think like I'm anti-Obama person, right? I'm not for or against Obama, you know what I mean? Like, but I think the thing that I've been trying to say about Obama and our view as black people about Obama, he even alluded to in this interview with Trevor Noah. You know what I mean? And so I wanted to, share that for a
Hmm.
moment and let you listen to it and see what you thought about it, and then just talk about that piece on the other side, right?
It would probably work. But I want to go back to something you said earlier, which I think is really important. And I said this in the wake of some of this criticism. Uh, I said, look, part of this is also everybody has different roles to play. An activist, a movement leader, is going to provide a prophetic voice and speak certain truths that somebody who is going to be elected into office will not be able to say. I reread James Baldwin's A Fire Next Time this summer. How is it that something written 50 years ago, 55 years
Right.
ago,
Yeah. Yeah.
applies directly today, right? Despite everything that's happened. To me, that is as searing and as honest a portrayal of the gaping wound of race in America. But of course, James Baldwin can't be elected to the U.S. Senate, or unlikely that he would want to be the mayor of a city who's responsible for figuring out how do I deal with the police union. Right? That's somebody else's role.
That's what he says, is that's somebody else's role. He talks about James Baldwin and the searing commentary of James Baldwin, and that James Baldwin couldn't get elected to the Senate. That James Baldwin probably wouldn't even wanted to get elected. That's not his role. But the person that would get elected doesn't have the role of a James Baldwin. He's saying that, however, we as black people, it seems to me, we hold him as that Negro who got elected. We hold him in the same role that we would hold a James Baldwin. We expect him to say the things that James Baldwin would say. We expect him to do the things that a James Baldwin type would have done, that a King type would have done. And he is letting you know that wasn't my role. Am I hearing that wrong? Or what do you hear in that?
I think that's exactly what he's saying. And also what he's saying as well, and I'm just taking it kind of as literally as I can, is that everyone has a role specifically in this governmental system of America. So the president, or the POTUS, president of the United States, has a role, and the role is not related to the activist role, or let's put it like this. Uh, the role that James Baldwin kind of, cultivated for himself.
Right.
In this system, in this American system, we like to name stuff. So we'll call Baldwin an activist, or some folk won't consider Baldwin prophetic, but he's a licensed minister.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but nevertheless, you know, I think that's what I'm hearing from Obama.
Yeah. I know that's what I was hearing as well, and it's just so interesting because he tiptoed around it, right? It's not like he came out and said, because to give some context, what Trevor Noah was asking him about was the quote unquote criticism that he made of Black Lives Matter and defund the police in specific. That when he talked about defunding the police not being the right term. Now, of course, he tried to backpedal and say he wasn't using, white comfort or white appeasement or anything like that, that it was really about, crafting languages in ways that bring people on board. And then we always say that kind of stuff sounds like white appeasement to me. I didn't play that part because that wasn't really we already know that that's what he's going to say. You know what I mean? And those of us who critique him already know that that's what he's going to say. Those of us who fawn over him will hear that and not really hear what he's saying. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that piece, the piece de resistance, as they would say, was that piece where he identified the role of a Baldwin versus the role of a politician. And that dovetails into something that Jeremiah Wright said as well. When Jeremiah Wright said that about Obama, that he's a politician. And understanding the role of a politician. And here's the problem in America, right? Like, and it's not even a black problem. It is an everybody problem, right? We have come to the place where we think politicians are our leaders. Politicians are your politicians. They are not your leaders. They are representatives. When we talk about foundational Republican democracy, right? The reason you have a House of Representatives and a U.S. Senate, right? The House of Representatives, they represented the people. The Senate represented the states, the governments, the state governments.
Which is probably the most powerful politicians. Real talk.
In neither case are those people the leaders.
Right.
The senator was somebody who was sent there by the state to do the state's bidding. The congressman, the representative, was somebody sent there by the people to do the people's bidding. The politician works at the behest of the people. The politician is not a leader of the people. But we make these people our leaders.
Why do you think that's the case?
Because it's easy.
Go deeper.
Look,
Blacks with power. I want you to
look, it is easy when we just abdicate our responsibility. It's easier for us to abdicate responsibility. I mean, if we look at it, we can bring that out of politics and bring that into the church, and how we typically look at church. We look at faith as a spectator sport. We go to church to be fed. We go to church because the preacher preach good. We go to church because the choir sing good. And this is across lines. You know what I mean? We go to church because it is feeding us. We are spectators being entertained by whatever is going on up on the stage. It is easier for us to envision that somehow someone else is working out our salvation on our behalf. And so all the magic that they do up there, creating praise and worship, is designed to work on our behalf so that we, by virtue of sitting in the pews, can just have, grace rain down upon us and us be cleansed by the liturgy done by someone else. And so with that whole mindset on the microcosm, it blows up to the macro where we elected you so that you create the society. After we elect you, we have nothing to do with you. We have no idea. We complain about politicians only come around on election day, but we only look for them around election time either. We only hold them accountable during the election season. We'll grill them. We'll ask them all sorts of tough questions. After they get elected, we just bow over and do obeisance to them. Whatever they do is somehow good now. And so it's the same in the church, because it's like I used to tell my parishioners all the time, you don't get into heaven because I was a good priest. You don't get into heaven because you got a good pastor, because you all chose the right pastor. So the church will do all kind of work on itself. When you look at a parish profile or a congregational profile, the church will do all sort of work on itself to tell you about itself, to tell you what its ambitions are, how it feels the Lord is calling it into being. It'll do all this work on itself in order to hire a pastor. Once that pastor is hired, whoo! All right, now, pastor, get us to the kingdom. And so that's why I think it happens on that micro and macrocosmic level, because it is easier for us to turn over responsibility to someone else. That's the whole reason the Electoral College exists.
Yeah. We don't want to take responsibility, or we want somebody else who's in the position to do that. So let me ask you some questions. I would agree with that to a certain extent. But I want to ask some real questions because I really want to set context.
Go ahead.
When you say the people,
mm-hmm.
Who are the people?
Man, in any and every level, we the people. We the people as the universal. We the people in the American context. We the people. We the black people. I'll speak on those two levels. We the people in terms of the body politic American, we the people in terms of we the black people.
Okay. So, all right, if we're going to speak there, then I'm going to have to dig deeper then.
Come on now. That's what we do this for. Like you said, it's black power.
Yes, sir. So, are black people considered the people? We the people. Are black people, those who are part of the black community, are we considered with that phrase, we the people? Are we considered as people, as human beings, black community, represented in the phrase, we the people?
Oh, no, but I don't even worry about that, because the real problem is that we ourselves don't consider ourselves the people.
But here is the thing. I would disagree with that, because some folk do. Listen to that interview again with Trevor Noah and Obama. Though Obama is not a descendant of American slavery, he is African,
mm-hmm.
and his mother is a white woman. She's American, but his wife is a descendant of American slavery. There are some people who are descendants of American slavery.
Okay.
Who would say, I am a part of that. I am a part of we the people. The real question that I'm asking is those men, let me be clear, those white men, looking at it historically, from a historical context,
mm-hmm.
those white men who uttered those words, we the people, did they consider?
No. But what's the point?
Okay.
No.
Here's the point. The point is this, is to what President Obama is saying. He's talking from that systemic structure. We got to consider it. When we talk politics, you got to consider it. When we talk these titles and these positions, you got to consider the systemic structure where they lie.
Yes, but to what
Just
end?
like in the church, right?
No. Yes, I agree, but to what end?
To the
No.
end
I
that it continues.
100% agree. I 100%
Mhm.
agree that you
Mhm.
have to consider that structure. But unto what end? What is the end of that consideration?
There is no end.
There's got to
The
be.
reason why they,
Otherwise, what are we
where's the
continuing
end?
on
Then you
for?
tell me. Where's the end?
To me, one end would be, if we are to stay in America, one end would be to forge a space where we, the people, includes us. Meaning that we have say in the have direct say in the input of reshaping this country. Not we got to speak through one of y'all and maybe y'all will get around to it. No. But that because we've said so, some of these things change.
So you're speaking in the sense of we the people as a black community come together and create our own structure. Is that what you're saying?
At a bare minimum, create a structure that wields independent power as part of the whole we the people.
And so this is my opinion. So with that being said, this is where I'm laughing because 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 my wheels are spinning. But on the same hand, this is why, you know, Obama would name a James Baldwin. Because James Baldwin would be speaking directly from your claim. Prophets would be speaking from your claim, like Reverend Dr. Jeremiah Wright. That's the prophetic claim. So in this systemic structure, this becomes rather the role of the prophet, or what they call the activist. They will call Martin Luther King. I should say this: Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. They would call him an activist before they call him a prophet.
Right.
And
And that
right,
belittles him.
exactly.
Because
So
I was
what
just
I'm
gonna, I was
essentially
just about to
saying,
say, I
right?
wouldn't call it like I think I'm following that you're saying that they would call an activist and a prophet the same thing, but I don't see them as the same thing.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying
Okay.
is exactly what you said. They're gonna belittle it. They won't call him Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. They're gonna call him Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. They won't call him a prophet. They'll call him an activist. And they'll lump
A
him with a
civil rights
James
leader.
Baldwin.
They'll call him a civil
Exactly.
rights leader.
Exactly. And King was being prophetic.
But you see, we'll
The,
call him a civil rights leader.
exactly. And
We
this is
don't
what
get
I'm
up and
saying. And that's
proclaim
why,
him as a prophet.
right. And that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. That's why I was asking those questions, because this shows this dismemberment of black people, within the community.
Mm-hmm.
We have accepted the same ideology and notion of Barack Obama.
Right.
And so as a result, we 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 minimize prophetic and we raise up activists. We minimize, just like you were saying before, right, about those title the titles and positions, but really the purpose were to represent the people of America, regardless of ethnicity, is citizens.
But again, the key thing is
Right.
to represent, not to be
Right.
your leader. You lead them. You
Right.
tell them what to do.
Right.
You tell
Right.
them how to represent your interests as a people unto the halls of power. You tell them how to speak truth to power.
Right. Right.
But we keep looking to
And
them as our vaunted leaders, and because this man was elected to the highest elective office by them, and yes, he wouldn't have gotten elected without us, and so we can share that ownership, but because we got him elected to the highest seat in the land, now he's our leader.
mm-hmm.
He's no longer a politician to us. We see him as a black leader.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no. You don't tell us what to think. You are a politician. We tell you how to represent our interests.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So we got this whole thing backwards. And again, it isn't just a black problem. Everybody got this stuff backwards. This is why I would say this is why America is where it is. Because we got all these people telling us what we supposed to think.
Well, maybe those who have the position may not have it backwards because they finessed and finagled to get the position, and because they understand that this is the cultural ideology, we can milk it. Like for instance, since we're talking about President Obama, and listen, we're not bashing,
Again,
Obama.
that's why I wanted to start with that piece, because
right.
again, it's not about bashing him. It's about understanding his role and allowing him to stay in that role.
Right. And understanding too the fact that he accepted
that role,
this ideological role. That's why he can text Jay-Z when he was running for a second term and say, "Give me the rock. It's the fourth quarter." You know what I'm saying?
But because we don't understand and accept the roles, we expect people in certain roles. It's like you ain't never seen the wide receiver be the leader of a team.
Mm-hmm.
And you've had some great wide receivers. And I don't mean great in terms of talent. I mean great in terms of character as well.
Yes.
But they weren't the leaders.
No.
And oftentimes what you have is the wide receiver is the prima donna, right? That's the one that gets the most attention. Because it's pretty, like Lynn Swann jumping up, catching balls, or Randy Moss, or, you know what I mean? Marvin Harrison. You got, they the ones get attention. Jerry Rice and them get attention.
Man, let's be even more relevant. Odell Beckham Jr., who never won a championship, but he made one catch, and that changed his whole life, career.
They the ones get the attention.
Yep.
But there ain't nobody looking for that Negro to be the leader.
No.
But somehow what we've done is we've turned the politician, the one who gets the attention, and the one who ironically is usually jockeying for attention. You know what I mean? The politician has to jockey for attention. Just like a wide receiver, always jockeying for attention.
So let me ask this then. What do you think this whole concept comes from?
Man. I mean, I think
because go ahead.
I would say I think it goes back to our innate desire to be sheep. We would rather be sheep. We talk about freedom, but we would rather somebody else make the decisions for us. And so that's just this innate desire, right? Like, I mean, it's the whole reason that the Israelites clamored for a king. They didn't want the responsibility of freedom anymore. It was too hard.
Right.
They wanted a king to make their decisions for them. And the Lord was like, I don't think this is what y'all want. And they kept begging him for a king. And finally, he was like, okay.
And even to that point is to say, we want to be like somebody else, wherein we've been getting validation from,
Yeah.
But I also would speak systemically as well, because those who fund politicians most often have the influential ear of the politician.
Oh, but see, that's why I love somebody like Dr. Claude Anderson, man. You heard of Dr. Claude
Mm-hmm.
Anderson? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when he talk about,
Powernomics, Doc.
yeah, yeah, you got it. I was about to drop back and go get my copy too, Doc, but but it's like
That's a must read.
when he talks about own, like, the big thing now, people talking about buying back the block, and that's cool. I agree with it. I'm not poo-pooing it at all.
Right, right, right.
When I say that's cool, I'm just saying it is part of what has to happen. Part of what has to happen, to be frank, is to buy your politicians.
You do.
We got to understand the role that the politician plays. We keep thinking the politician and black clergy ain't helped, because we've dibbled and dabbled on both sides, being clergy and politician. So we've gotten into politics, and we've brought that back into the congregation, and so we've kind of mixed the two together. And so but we've forgotten, you're supposed to own your politicians. The politician is not a sacred role.
It's a representative of you.
You're supposed to own your politician. And if you can't own your politician, you get what you paid for.
Exactly. Since you mentioned the black church, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just want to interject for 1 second. Since you mentioned the black church, we always say, because we went to seminary, we always say, well, you went technically to seminary. I'm in seminary, but we normally say this, is that the pastor comes from the pews. Howard Thurman talks about, especially in black church, he would say this, you're the pastor when the people say you the pastor. To your point, just like the politician, we say you are the senator or the representative or the congressman or woman when we say it through the vote. And here is what you're saying, which is totally key. We said when we put our money in your campaign.
We own you. We bought you. We paid for you. You ours.
Exactly.
You do what we say.
Exactly.
Politician is a job. You ain't doing it for the love. People like to romanticize it and talk about they do it for the love, but that is a career choice. And yes, you should do it for the love, but it is a career choice. And we treat it like it's a sacred trust. Like somebody who's going to be a politician, they just, by virtue of being a politician, aren't going to betray the community. It's so crazy, because here it is, right? Like you said, I love the fact that you reminded me, like we said, about the pastor being drawn out of the people, right? Drawn up from the congregation, right? Mm-hmm. Just like the politician it should be drawn up from among the people. Everybody who's going to take on some sort of role in the community should be from amongst the community. The police should be drawn up from the community, from amongst the people.
Facts.
So your politicians are drawn up from the people. Your pastors are drawn up from the people. Here's the thing that is wild to me. And this is a conception of Western faith that we've embodied, right, as black people. We have the politician and the pastor drawn up from the people. When we elevate them to that stage, right, we elevate one to political office, we elevate the other to the pulpit, right? The one that we've elevated to political office, we hold as sacred. But the one we've elevated to the pulpit, we ain't gotta listen to them. We tell them what to do. We accept that they abuse all kinds of, you know what I mean? That role isn't sacred. But the politician is the one that we've managed to hold as sacred. So the pastor is not our leader. Pastor, you can't tell us what to do. You can't, the pastor is not our leader, but the politician, we'll follow that Negro everywhere.
Yeah, an example of that is in that scenario. And I'm glad he was able to do it. But when Obama, when he was serving as president at the time, he eulogized Clementia Pinckney. Rest in peace to our brother.
Yeah, I remember that. He
Yeah,
did that.
yeah, and he had the swag. He had the sound.
Oh yeah.
He even knew the tune, man. He closed, and when he closed, he was able to sing "Amazing."
He landed that play. He landed that play with a three-point landing. Like,
And here is the thing: he ain't just get that from observation.
He worked on that.
He got that because he was a part of the community. He belonged to a black church that had a black prophetic leader. Real talk.
But here's the thing, though. He also wanted to embody that. And that's the curious thing, right? He didn't want to become a pastor. He didn't want to go to seminary. He wanted to be a politician. But in the process of becoming a politician, he understood that he had to embody the pastor. The sound and the feel of the pastor.
Reverend, you walking heavy, Doc. You walking heavy.
And he did it. You would have think he went to seminary. Why did he have to do that? What was that about?
He told you. He told you in the interview, didn't he? He said he made a conscious choice. Essentially, that's what he's saying. I made a conscious choice. If I don't embody the ideology of systemic culture America,
I'm not gonna make
get
it.
elected.
Hey,
and here is an example. In 1986 and 1989. Listen, 1986, I don't care what nobody say. Reverend Jesse Jackson. Reverend. He preached run, didn't he preach it? But honestly, man, that was a great speech. I'm being but that was a really good speech. I'm trying to find it. Like, he was on fire.
Hey, he came with it every now and again.
He can't. Listen, man.
It's just unfortunate he was more than willing to use it for political purposes. There we go. It's almost like for a while after King, the powers that be, endeavored to help black pastors cross over to that space. And then in Obama, what they learned is we don't need black pastors. All we really need is a black man who can learn how to look like a black pastor, how to sound like a black pastor. Because them black pastors they might go Jeremiah Wright. They might, them black pastors might go Jeremiah Wright.
James Baldwin.
They might go all James Baldwin on us. We can't have that. So we need a Jackie Robinson.
So check this out. It's funny that you mentioned that because I want to pause and really dig into that. Jackie Robinson, right?
Mm-hmm.
He with Branch Rickey.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Branch Rickey integrates baseball by using Jackie Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
1947, right?
Right.
Okay. It is very clear that Jackie Robinson was not the best.
Far from it.
Right? Satchel Paige, too old, but he was still killing them.
Josh Gibson. Cool Papa Bell.
Killing them. But here is the point that I'm making to your argument too, is that you don't have to be the best. All you need is what they call character.
Mm-hmm.
Will you rattle when they call you the N-word?
Mm-hmm.
You know, can you take them spitting and cursing you out, spitting on you and cursing you out,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't rap?
Mm-hmm.
And in many instances, and this goes back to what you were saying last week, right? Is that we as black people, and I don't want to sound on, gender bias, but I'm just using this because we're talking about Jackie Robinson and Obama. So we as black men,
We can throw in Kamala though, cause she gonna fall to it too.
well, she already did, so we can't. We as black people have to keep this demeanor about us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and here's the thing. Branch Rickey was the one that had the power to choose who he wanted on his team. And this is what happens in politics.
Mm-hmm. They choose
Is that
who they gonna let in, and they give them to you. I mean, and we let him do it, right? Because remember, black folk was
we let
not
them do it.
supporting Obama. Black people were not supporting Obama until he won in Iowa. When them white folk voted for him, then we were like, "Ooh, yeah, we got a chance."
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, man,
Yep.
they tell you this will be your leader. But we forget, the politician can never be your leader.
Now, I will talk about, and you can help me with this.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about a very extreme, unusual circumstance.
Okay.
This guy's, I'm sorry, I'm biased. I'm just personally biased. I'm
with
biased.
it. Let me know. Let me know.
But this guy was the GOAT. His name is Reverend Doctor, the late Reverend Doctor Adam Clayton Powell Jr.
I love him. I love him. I got a couple of his biographies right over here, man. You know, what I'll say about, again, Adam Clayton Powell was a representative, though. He started thinking of himself as a leader, and that was part of the problem. You know that was part of the problem, because he started thinking of himself as a leader and getting upset.
He got arrogant.
Right.
He got very arrogant. He's
right. Getting up.
Started spending the same way they did. You can't do that.
Yeah,
you gotta. If you're gonna, yeah.
Yeah, you got to remember who you are. You got to remember your place. You got to stay committed to the fight all the way.
If you're going to be a prophet, you have to remain a prophet. You can't be out there spending money, going on first class trips like these other politicians.
Right.
And you are doing seminal work.
Right.
There was no CBC.
Congressional Black Caucus. Right.
Yeah. There was no CB. He was
the CBC.
He was the CBC.
But see, he started buying into that model of he's the leader. And so now when other black leaders are getting, entree with white folks that he thought should have been coming through him, now we got problems. You know what I mean? He couldn't stay in his lane. And we didn't hold him in his lane, because even those who supported him were supporting him to be a leader. Like, nah, nigga, you ain't the leader. You represent us. We made you.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm praying again. I'm praying. And I'm gonna stand, I'm gonna defend him. But I'm praying for our brother,
indeed,
Reverend Dr. Raphael Warnock, because, man, this is not a wrestle against flesh and blood. It's really a wrestle against principalities and high places, meaning you have to know who you are. and why you stand for what you stand.
But see, what you're saying right there is the other reason that you gotta own your politician.
Yes.
So that
Yes.
if and when your politician falls, you can recall them.
Yes. So that they could be remembered when you recall them.
You're right. When they have been because you are, like you said, we are not rushing against flesh and blood, but against principalities and spiritual powers of wickedness in heavenly places, in those vaunted halls of Congress, in
Yes.
the Senate, in the White House. When you send your politician in there, they will not be wrestling simply with flesh and blood. This ain't about right or left. This is about principalities and spiritual wickedness. And there is a chance, especially when we are not focused on it, there is a high chance that they will be dismembered.
Yes.
But if you don't own your politician, pressure bust pipe.
Yeah.
If you don't own your politician, you can't recall them. Not even out of having to check them, but it could be out of love. We've seen that you've been out there for too long, and it's starting to wear on who you were, who you be before you went up there. And we need you to remember who you be before you went up there. So we're gonna bring you back, and if you find yourself again, there's always a chance we can use you. We're gonna always have need for a good politician. And because we own you, we can put you back wherever we want to put you back when the time is right. But until then, it don't matter if you you're gonna come back. And if you go outside and find somebody else to fund you, you ain't gonna get elected here. Because we know that what you have done is decided that you will go outside the community to get your funding to pay for your political life. And you no longer represent us, but you are trying to get our vote. But right now, we be voting for people who don't represent us. Because we don't own them. We don't own Obama. We'll say that we don't own Obama. We will say that we own him because we own part of that, because he wouldn't have made it into the presidency without him. But that was paid a long time ago. That Negro did 8 years as president without a scandal. He paid back your debt. We have no more ownership right on him. He is now getting so much money from he could care less about us. We don't own him. We cannot control him. He can say whatever he want to say about black folk.
Yeah. Now I know what some folk would say, at least he was able to read over the summer, The Fire Next Time by
Thanks
James
be to
Baldwin.
God. Thanks be to God.
God bless him. Listen, that's one of my favorite James Baldwin books. And I'm trying to read all of his books. I read most of them, but The Fire Next Time was the very first book I've read. It was given to me by one of my mentors who was a professor. She's in the land of the ancestors. But Dr. Annette Kashif at Bethune-Cookman gave me that book, Fire Next Time, to read. And I'm just wondering, what would Obama's kind of ideology would have been, or his conviction? Let me say that. What would his conviction would have been if he would have read Fire Next Time during his presidency? Let me be clear: the second term. Because shoot, you can't run again.
No, exactly.
So I just wondered that, because I got to get back here to that prophetic role, right?
Right.
That prophetic versus activist.
Right.
And how we minimize the prophetic role. The role of the prophet is to shape consciousness so that there can be a conversion. So that means consciousness is rooted from conviction. You have to have a strong belief that shapes your consciousness And from that, you can become converted.
Mm-hmm.
That's the role of the prophet.
Right. And to
And
continue
so,
with what you always talk about, that prophet demonstrates the confrontation. That prophet provides the
yes,
confrontation.
yes, yes, yes. And so I guess to this standpoint too, and I may be answering my question, this is probably why they get named activists versus prophet. Because many people who hear who hear the voices of a James Baldwin or Dr. Martin Luther King or Reverend Dr. Jeremiah Wright, I said Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, I should have said, that they don't want to confront it, so they dismiss it.
Mm-hmm. 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 And and that politician, the job of the politician is to not confront. Because again, the politician is trying to create exchange. The politician serves a role. You know what I mean? It's funny. Case and I were talking about, the idea of a black state. You know what I mean? And Case was like, y'all think y'all got room for like one white guy? It was like, I was like, you know what? I'm sure we could use a deputy secretary of state who's white, and send the white man to go deal with the other white states on our behalf. You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna send
That's
you.
what they've been doing to us,
Right,
right?
right. So yeah,
They choose our leaders and then throw them on us and say, "Here's your leader."
So in the black state, we gonna have a white deputy secretary working for the black secretary of state, but a deputy secretary who handles the meeting with the other white folks. Like, you go talk to that white folk, because when it's time for us to talk, then we can talk. But before then,
just like Shaka did,
right,
those guys.
right.
No, you're not with King Georgie. You're Zulu.
Right. But it's understanding the role.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And not allowing, and this is why in my mind, this is why we stay duped, right? Why we stay bamboozled, run amok, led astray, because we don't understand the roles. And we got politicians thinking that they are our leaders, and we allow them, white power, to dangle politicians in front of us, and we accept those folk as our leaders. Like, nah, you ain't my leader. You a politician. And it's good that white folk like you, because that means that they might talk to you. But you represent us. You ain't about to tell us how. People get mad because Obama be criticizing black behavior. You don't get to tell us how to behave. We tell you how we want you to shape the system on our behalf, so that we can behave how we want to behave, because we are free. But we allow them to tell us that politicians are our leaders, and we think that we therefore have to follow them. And so that, when he said that, man, it really coalesced things for me, because I wasn't paying him no attention, no way. But at the same time, it allowed me to frame it in a better light. Like, it's not an anti-Obama thing.
Right.
It's understanding he's a great politician. As a black man to have gotten elected twice to the presidency of the United States, he is a tremendous politician.
Oh, for sure.
He is like, the Hank Aaron of politicians.
He crossed his T's and dotted his I's,
oh,
man. I mean,
impeccable. And to have survived the presidency as a black president with no scandal. Because them white folks was looking for a scandal. They was trying to find any way to bring him down. All them presidents that came before him had some sort of something come out.
He treated his wife like a black queen, the way a black queen should be treated. Let me just throw that out there.
In that respect, in the familial respect, he did not allow white folks to go anywhere with that nonsense. Because they would
That's
have
right.
loved it. If he had cheated on her, they would have loved it. They would have ate it up.
Yeah.
And so the family conducted themselves impeccably. They understood the stakes and they rose to the occasion. Exceptional politicians. But politicians. I don't expect a politician to become my leader. You know? I don't. And we need to stop expecting politicians to be our leaders. We need to understand the purpose for which you have a politician. We need to understand that politicians need to belong to us. You know, to we the people, whatever section of we the people we think we are, the politician needs to belong to us. And that politician needs to be so much within our control that if or when that politician no longer represents us, whether in form or in substance, that politician can be recalled like that. So my thing is like what Obama was showing me today was helping me to frame that discussion, that argument, that point, that I have no problem with any of our politicians. I got the problem that they are not our politicians. Don't none of them belong to us. I don't think you can name a politician in the country on any level that belongs to the people. And when I say belongs to the people, I don't mean that their heart is with the people and they ain't gonna betray the people. That's wonderful. Thanks be to God. All politicians should be that, but they are not. We know that. What I mean is that they belong to the people, as in the price, the receipt. The people got the receipt. That yes, there may be outside money, but that outside money pales in comparison to the money that comes from the community. That politician is bought and paid for by the community. If y'all know a politician that is bought and paid for by the community, please, I would love to meet them. I would love to have them on the show. If you can think of a politician that is indeed bought and paid for by the community, please let us know. I would love to know. But, you know, I know I got to stop blaming Obama. You know what I mean? Like, being mad at Obama for being a politician. You know what I mean? Being mad at him.
You can't.
Being mad at him for not being, you know, it's like being mad at Jackie Robinson for not being Josh Gibson. Like,
Yeah, and to your point, man, you know, that's my personal gripe for these elitist scholars. You know, I ain't naming no names.
come on now, you said before, this is black with power.
Man, cats like Eddie Glaude, Cornel West.
Our frat
You know,
too.
yeah, Cornel West is frat too. But just, you know, they made a choice, you know, to buy into this ideology. But, you know, when President Obama say, well, you know, I made a choice, and y'all want to lambast him, you know, to get your tenureships and all
But
of
again,
that,
that's
get your
because
bookshelves up.
right, because it's part of that culture. It's part of that culture where, you know, like they still in their own way are looking for him to be the leader, and they mad at him
Exactly.
because he's not the leader.
Yep.
Well, he's not supposed to be a leader. That's the problem that I'm looking at, right? That the problem is that we look into political cats to be our leadership.
Mm-hmm.
We look into politicians to be our leaders. When really politicians are the ones that the leadership and the community sends out into the fray to negotiate terms with the peoples around us, with the systems around us. You know, When them Israelites were sent into Jericho, we call them spies. They were also politicians, man.
Man, for sure.
They were in there making deals. They were making
It
deals.
was making deals.
That's why. What's that
Making
sister's name?
deals.
I don't even remember the sister's name, but that's why they brought her with them. Because they were like, when we went in there, we worked a deal. We signed a treaty with her. Rahab. They signed a treaty with Rahab.
And Rahab did not renege. Shouts out to the black women. Rahab did not renege on her deal.
And so, they were politicians. Ain't nobody expect them to come back now and be leaders.
Well, be careful. Be careful, Doc. Be careful, Reverend. Be careful, Doc.
Come now. Correct me when I stray.
So, when you look at those spies, right? It was 10 of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
10 spies. But out of the 10 spies, there were two millennials.
Damn millennials.
One name was Joshua. Other name is Caleb.
Damn millennials.
And when them old heads came back and said, "Nah, we can't do that." But to your point, right? They're making deals. They're doing all of this stuff. And the ones who are making these deals with these foreigners, they're telling Moses, we can't get with them, man. We're like grasshoppers to them. And Joshua and Caleb is right there in the mix. Like, man, please, Moses, this is what went down. Let's go get them.
Mm-hmm.
And Moses essentially chooses Joshua as his successor.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Because this is what he knows.
Yeah.
When Joshua go in to possess the land, to take stuff that don't belong to them, he gonna take it.
But he gonna take it. Yeah. But here's what also came true too, right? Yeah. Once Joshua became the leader, Joshua stopped being a politician.
And those politicians died. Anybody who was a part of that cultural crew, they all died.
The leader couldn't be a politician. Moses didn't make no compromise. Politicians compromise on beliefs. That your job is to compromise on beliefs.
Yeah.
If the leader compromise on beliefs, you get lost.
Yeah. It would be good to see the way this Senate race turns out in Georgia. Hopefully, I could say this, we can see a prophetic politician.
Hey, it'd be interesting. We ain't seen it yet, though.
Yeah, we ain't seen it.
Adam Clayton Powell was close.
He was the closest one we had.
But we've always seen it fall apart, right? I mean, if you look all over, I look at what happened to Aristide after he became president of Haiti.
Yeah.
And he's a Catholic priest, and you look at all these political leaders who were clergy and become politicians. Like elected office politicians.
Yeah.
I ain't seen it go well. I haven't seen a case where it goes well.
Yeah, me neither.
So that makes me concerned for Brother Warnock, but you make your bed, you gotta lie in it, so.
Yeah. But if he is who he's saying he is, I'm reading one of his works. He is killing, Doc. He killing. I would just love to see it. I'd just love to see it.
I would too, because especially in the Senate, right? Because I'm an elitist. Y'all know I'm an elitist, right? Don't let the dreadlocks fool you. But because it's the Senate, right? I'm a talented 10th cat all the way, Doc. Like,
yeah, you a Republican, Doc.
Oh yeah, I forgot you, man. Like,
I was talented 10th We're Republicans.
Hey, I ain't even go back. I ain't even go. Whatever. I ain't worried. I ain't scared of y'all. What Samuel L. Jackson say? I ain't scared. What Bernie Mac used to say? Bernie Mac used to say, I ain't scared of you, motherfuckers. I ain't scared of you. But especially in the Senate, because the Senate is the place where you do not have to be. We haven't seen this lately. Well, we have seen it. We have seen it because the Republicans in the Senate have been obstinate despite where the political tenor is, right? So in the Senate, you do not have to respond to everyday politics because you got 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
In the House, you are always running.
Yeah.
So you always got to respond because, if you don't, you're going to be voted out. In the Senate, and especially when the Senate was sent by the states. In the Senate, your job was to argue principle. And so it would be beautiful to have a firmly rooted theologian in the Senate.
Yes. Come on, Father.
But we don't have the structure for it. We don't own him. We don't own him, and we already know that there is only one particular Christian expression that is respected and allowed in public space. And it is the Christian perspective that conforms to whiteness and conforms to white interpretations of the gospel. And so whenever he were to use his prophetic witness in the halls of Congress and it did not conform to what white folks have determined to be faithful, many of those white folks won't even be theologians, but what white folks have determined to be faithful, his standing will be in jeopardy because we don't own him. We don't own him, and we cannot say, oh no, he's staying. We are not recalling him. He will stay. We actually like what he says. He represents our view. He will stay. No, he will have a decision. He will either have to recant what he says or he will be replaced by them. It will be the very same ones who helped put him there. I know that firsthand because, again, we talk about me being in politics. I was in politics in Georgia. I was not in Georgia, actually on behalf of Georgia. Georgia 4th District, the great state of Georgia 4th District. Decatur where it's greater. For the Honorable Cynthia McKinney. And I saw how, when she decided that she was going to be all about black people, it was the very same white Democrats who helped get her elected that worked with the other side to get her ousted. And why? Because we didn't own her. We could not say, we love her just the way she is. And we love what she said. We agree with what she said. She is still going to be our representative. They would have had to come to us and say, hey, we didn't like what she said. Do y'all think y'all could do something? And we would have said, what? What she said? She said, what? Oh yeah, we agree with that. We like that. No. She'll be back there. And that would have been the end of it. But we didn't own her. And because she didn't recant what she said, she was replaced. That would be the case for Warnock. However, I would love to see it, Doc. We don't have the structure for it. But I would love to see it. It is needed. It would help make America great.
Yeah, it really would.
But America wouldn't allow it. You know that.
Right.
And we don't have the power, and this is what I was going when we were talking before, right? And we don't have the power to enforce it. We know America wouldn't allow it, and we don't have the power to make it happen. And why? Because we don't understand the roles. Goes back to that. We don't understand the roles. Because if we understood that they are not our leaders, that they are not sacred people who, are bound by their beliefs and their convictions, then we would understand that we need to own whatever politician we put forward. Whatever politician comes before us and whatever politician we determine to vote for should be one that we own. Then we can expect that person to be a saint, because that's what we would require and hold them accountable to. And if they didn't, then we would recall them. And you know the crazy thing about democracy? If we owned our politicians, we could recall them before the election.
Mm-hmm.
We could put forward a referendum and call for a special election and have them removed post haste if we owned our politicians. So that's my thing, brothers and sisters, is remember who these people are. They are employees of the people. Yes, they need to be good. They should be stellar at their job. We want the best of the best to be our politicians. Again, I am an elitist. I don't want no idiot to be my politician, man. I don't want nobody that never been nowhere, that don't know how to fine dine, that don't know how to talk between the lines and has understood the classics and understands white culture and can read their body language. No, I don't want somebody Pookie and Ray Ray and them. Nah, because there's gonna be too much that they're gonna miss. But we also need to own them Negroes, them highfalutin Negroes. We need to own them.
Yeah. Yeah, though black people, we are not monolithic. One of the things that we do see in white community is they can come together for a cause. We can't do that
for some reason.
People. And we got to be willing to set aside our differences and say what is best for the beloved community.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And think on that strategic level, and stop looking to some savior. There's only one savior, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Anybody else coming to save. Electing this one ain't gonna make them. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna bring about your salvation. Electing, calling a particular pastor ain't gonna bring about your salvation. Calling a particular politician ain't gonna bring about your salvation. It's you living faithful to the calling to which you have been called. A charge to keep we have, brothers and sisters. A God to glorify, a never dying soul to save and fitted for the sky. We don't come a long way, but we are not going to get where we need to get unless we march on till this victory is won. Peace.